You thought this shit died years ago, didn't it? Well, I'm bringing this shit back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Russell's Movie Reviews, the show where I review stuff that's mostly pretty good, maybe one of the best movies of all time, or it absolutely sucks and should remain in the depths of hell. And welcome, everyone, to my first ever Batman marathon. Um, I've been a fan of Batman for a good part of my life, along with Superman. My two favorite superheroes, without a doubt. And yes, I've had this mask quotes for several years now. I think about 3-4 years now up to this point. And if you guys are fans of my channel, you guys may remember this from a certain video of mine that I did a really cringy Batman voice, which I'm not even going to attempt to either replicate that or try and do another Batman voice because I know I would just be shit at it. But, I thought, okay, I'm sorry, I thought that this would be a good idea, but this shit is honestly not sitting on my face that well. So, yeah. Anyway, with the release of The Batman, about a month ago, I thought, you know what? Since, I'm coming back to YouTube, might as well make my next marathon a Batman marathon. So, I thought, you know what? Might as well. Let's get a little more light in here. There, that's way better. Anyway. So, I thought, you know what? Let's do a Batman marathon. And of course, what better way to start it off, or do the first Batman marathon, than to do the 90s quadrilogy, which obviously started off with Batman from 1989, Batman Returns from 1992, Batman Forever from 1995, and of course, the worst one of them all, Batman and Robin in 1997. But I thought, doing these four just like that, maybe a little bit weird. And plus, there was another Batman movie that came out before that, that I thought, you know what other time am I going to cover it, so might as well talk about it now. And as you guys can tell by the thumbnail and the title and the new intro, we're going to start off this Batman marathon with the one that started it all. Batman, the movie from 1966. Now, if you guys are fans of Batman, you would obviously know that this is a part of the classic 1960 show that ran from 1966 to 1969. It ran for 3 seasons, and after the first season concluded, they immediately went to work on filming the movie, which came out, I think, in the fall of 1966. We came out in July 30th of 66, and then followed by the second and third seasons over the next few years. Unfortunately, I don't have the series as of currently, so all I have in terms of the series is the movie, which surprisingly was one of the first Blu-rays ever, because I think this is a 2008 release. So 2 years after Blu-ray was a thing, but still thought, you know what, might as well get it because I'm gonna talk about this at some point. And I thought, since I'm doing a Batman marathon, might as well talk about it now, since I'm probably not gonna talk about it any other time. So yeah. So like I said, this was obviously based off the show, and unlike some other shows like Pokemon, for example, where the movies and the show kind of don't really interconnect that well, I feel like that you could honestly watch the first season, go on to the movie, and then continue on with the rest of the show perfectly fine, and yet it feels like a part of the show. Because without seeing the show, this made me feel like I was watching an elongated episode of the first season. And actually, you know what? I'm not gonna spoil it yet because that would just ruin the entire purpose of the video. So, yeah, let's go on about it. So, the budget hasn't been exactly confirmed yet, but it had most sources either claim it either had a budget of 1.37 million or $1.5 million. And that's 1960s money. I don't know how much that was. That would be nowadays, but since this I guess is a quote unquote TV movie, um, it had to make around 3 million in rentals in order for it to be deemed as a success, and it did. It made about 3.2 million in rentals, so this was a modest success. Um, and unfortunately, with the cancellation of the show, there was no more there was nothing else really that continued on with the show until 2017, when actually you might as well go and grab those right now. Until like 2017, when the animated movies came out. Return of the Cape Crusaders and Batman versus Two Face. So the last really the last two like media form media continuations of the 60s show, because obviously, unfortunately, Adam West had passed away at that point. I believe actually right after the release of Batman vs. Two-Face, he did unfortunately pass away, so that is unfortunate, But for these, some of the villains obviously did return, but actually, I'm going to talk about these a little bit later, because, we're here to talk about the original 1960s movie, and not the sequels, and, the legacy of the show, because that is for next episode, which will be coming out next week. But yeah. Anyway, so, and this was worldwide. I don't think it really went out worldwide besides on television. So there's not been a confirmed amount of money that it made. And this was directed by Leslie H. Martinson, who I believe did direct some episodes for the original show. Literally, it feels like that. I believe the entire crew did return. The script was written by Lorenzo Simple Jr., who did pen some of the scripts for the Batman show, and would go on to direct some famous 80s movies. I believe, I think he did the script for Flash Gordon and a few others. And the music was done by Nelson Riddle, ironic, who did do the score for the show. So it does feel like that you really are watching a continuation of the show, because, all the same cast, the same crew, the same vibe is there, but it's just elongated to an hour and 40 minutes. 105 minutes, so it just feels like you're extending the length of an average, episode of the classic TV series. In terms of plot, there really isn't much. Well, there is, but it's very simple, because it really is just another kind of plot that you would find in a television series. It's basically Batman and Robin, played by Adam West and Burt Ward, respectively, trying to stop the, a gang of 4 famous supervillains from the show, which is Catwoman, played by Lee Merriweather, the Joker, played by the late Cezar Romero, the Penguin, played by the late Burgess Meredith, and the Riddler, played by Frank Gorshin, from Taking Over the World. The whole purpose, the whole marketing strategy behind this movie was see Batman and Robin on the big screen, because obviously this was really the first movie adaptation of Batman ever. So, we went from comic books to the small screen to the big screen. So, that's kind of the whole marketing push behind this one, was see Batman on the big screen. So it does feel like a continuation of the series. And I do commend that because they could have easily screwed it up, and yet they somehow managed to do it very, very well. Um, to go over the cast, I mean, yeah, we have the late Adam West who plays Batman as well as Bruce Wayne. And is obviously going to be the first Batman that I discuss. I think there's a total of 4 in this set of movies I will be discussing. And Adam West is the first one. And he's honestly one of my favorites. He brings out the more kooky side of of Batman, which was kind of typical for the show. But he could also do the very serious moments very well, which I do commend him. So, Adam West is a very good Batman. Burt Ward is good as Robin and as Dick Grayson, but yeah, it's very. I don't know. It's very compared to the other interpretations of Robin, like in the films, especially the animated versions as well. This is kind of lackluster. With the Robin that would appear in the Joel Schumacher films, and especially the Robin in the animated series, like that was a really good performance. But here it is kind of lackluster. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't necessarily bad performance. There's been worse Robins, like Robin and Batman and Robin. But yeah, he does fine. We have the late Cezar Romero as the Joker, who is a very good Joker. But he isn't one of my top. He is one of my top favorites, but he's not my favorite. I could easily put that award towards to Jack Nicholson or Mark Hamill or even Heath Ledger. All of them are preferably, in my opinion, way better than Cezar Romero. But again, that's not saying that Cezar Romero is bad. In fact, he is great as the Joker. And I feel like that when we go on to the next film, which is Batman 89, I feel like that there are some things that Cezar Romero kind of helped with Jack Nicholson's performance. But that's all a matter of opinion, really. I don't know whether or not Jack Nicholson has actually said that he took some inspiration from Cezar Romero's interpretation. But I can tell it. We have Lee Merriweather as Catwoman. Now, I might as well mention this now. In the series, Catwoman was played by Julie Newmar, and I think up to this point she only made one appearance in the show, and obviously that was in the first season. But she didn't reprise her role for the movie because she had a previous film obligation, so the role went to Merriweather. Surprisingly enough, she returned for the second season and made more appearances. And I'll get to I might as well cover it now. Julie Newmar's performance and Lee Merriweather's performances are kind of two separate people if you really think about it. The first season, Julie Newmar was very, I don't really know how to describe it, but in the series, there's been like between Julie Newmar and Adam West, particularly for Julie Newmar, she has like kind of an infatuation for Batman. And Batman is the one that's like, no, it would, take over, my work. Whereas in this movie, a key plot point of the film is Catwoman using her Miss Kitka disguise, which she used at the beginning to ask, like, can you take off your mask and so I could, get a picture of you? And everyone's like, no. And Batman's like, well, yeah, she's a foreigner. She doesn't really know. But uh, later on, they were like, okay, let's have Catwoman in her Miss Kick-Ass disguise go to Bruce Wayne to ask for help. We'll lure him in, capture him, and then get Batman. Obviously not knowing that the two are the same person. And Batman or Bruce Wayne falls completely in love with Miss Kitka, and yet Catwoman doesn't show any affection back. And you might think that's weird, but what's even weirder is that when Julie Newmar returns to the show, this whole crush thing is completely ignored. They go back to what the dynamic was in the first season. Well, technically, the whole Catwoman having a crush on Batman was more in the second season, but still, the whole crush on the crush that Bruce Wayne develops for Catwoman, that whole subplot from this movie is completely gone in the series. When we see Catwoman again, she's like chasing after Batman, and yet Batman is the one that's like, no, I don't want a romance. So it's very weird, and you could probably honestly watch this movie if you really do. You could watch this movie completely separate from the show. But usually I tend to ignore it because it's like, that's how television and movies were back then. They would do this whole continuity, like, inconsistency crap back then. So I can overlook that. But it's still, that's one of like the main things that pops up about, I guess, as a complaint for this movie. Whenever I see people reviewing this online, they always bring that up. And yes, it is technically a flaw, and I can't unsee it, but it's more easy for me to ignore it than to overlook it, because yeah, it's painfully obvious, but it's still like not terrible. We have the great late Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, who, if you guys are film fans, played Mickey in the Rocky series. Probably most famous for that, besides the Penguin. And he gives a great performance as usual. There's really no surprise there. And then we have fantastic Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. She might be my favorite Riddler. Because we have a famous actor who would be popping up as the Riddler later on in the series, and obviously with the Batman, we had a new interpretation of the Riddler. But like I just see I honestly see the Riddler as kind of like an alternate version of the Joker, like with like kind of like the same kind of laugh, but a little bit different. But obviously, having the Riddler traits and not be, totally like psychotic. And this interpretation of the Riddler is really good. We also have Alan Napier, I think that's how you pronounce it, who plays the first interpretation of Alfred Pennyworth in live action form. I'll be completely honest, I'm not a fan of this Alfred. He barely pops up. I think he really only has like one set of sequences or set of scenes that kind of shows him off as, Alfred, but besides that, he barely pops up in the entire movie. When we get onto the quadrilogy itself, I think that's my favorite Alfred, and we'll get to that when we get for next week. But just comparing that Alfred with this Alfred, the other Alfred is way better. This one just seems weak in comparison. We also have Blake as Aunt Harriet Cooper, who I think was the aunt to Dick Grayson, and eventually stays at Wayne Manor. She only has like one scene. I think, and that's in like near the end. So it's like you barely popped up, and yet she pops up in and out in the show, but it's still like, okay, just shoving more characters from the series. And of course, we have James Commissioner Gordon, or James Gordon, and Chief O'Hara, who I think was a creation only for the show, because I don't remember him. I know he certainly doesn't pop up in any of the movies afterwards, and I don't think he pops up in any of the comics after either. So I think he's strictly a TV creation. Gordon was played by Neil Hamilton, and Chief O'Hara was played by Stanford Rep. They are really good, surprisingly. They pop up, a lot, and they do really good. But it's, I don't know. He's certainly one of my favorite Gordons, but I don't think he's my favorite. He might be better than the Gordon that pops up in the quadrilogy, but again, that's for another time. And that's pretty much about it for the characters. I do have to say though, this film really does do a great job of showing Batman as a detective. Because that's what he was. He was a superhero, but was also a detective. Whereas some of some of the quadrilogy did touch on that, but yeah, mostly he was just the superhero. And then they really played up on just the superhero aspect in the Dark Knight trilogy. But this, along with the animated series, they really do a great job showing that Batman is a great superhero, but he's also a great detective. And that is very good, showing that, they do care about the source material, and they do, stick to that character. Not to say there's anything wrong with the 90s quadrilogy or the Batman or the Dark Knight trilogy, just because he isn't a detective. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I like the fact that they, some people were like, hey, yeah, let's add in the detective aspect, and that's what I actually do like about the new one, the 2021 or the 2022 version, like the Batman. They brought back his detective side, and I really do like that. And I think, like, besides in like all the animated stuff, is something that we don't see nowadays. We haven't seen in a long time, because I think because we had we had the series and then the movie, and then we had some scenes in the Tim Burton ones. I don't think Forever touched too much on it. And then Batman and Robin, there's only like one scene of it, but it's real shit. And then it's never touched on again until The Batman in 2022. Like I said, besides in animated stuff, like Batman the Animated Series, all like the DC animated stuff, they really do push that detective aspect of him. Most of the time. But in the live action stuff, they don't really do that anymore. And I don't get why. Like, it's such a crucial aspect, and yet I don't think it would really take anything away from the plots if you haven't been a detective in the first place. If anything, it actually makes some of the plots a little bit more easier to comprehend, especially with the Dark Knight stuff, because you have to figure that out 9 times out of 10 by yourself, unless they flat out tell you what's going on. You have to figure that out most of the time. Whereas, the animated series, they give you the clues. They give you the little, oh, there's this, and we have to go and find this, and then go up to this building to find this clue, and it's something that I feel like that they should start adding back into the Batman stuff, or back in the movies, the live action stuff. And I really feel like it would benefit Batman by adding that back in. Another common story that you would hear people talk about when they talk about the show, and it's probably one of the most infamous parts, is that Cezar Romero, when he was asked to be the Joker, he was like, okay, I'll do it, but allow me to keep my mustache. because that was like, I guess like his main trait back then. Like it was his mustache. So they were like, okay, you can keep the mustache, and we'll just paint right over it with the makeup. Uh, and it's back then, on really crap, because you got to think this is the '60s. You can't really see that. But obviously now with the Blu-ray transfers, and especially with this one, I'm noticing now, you can really notice the detail on the mustache where you could see, like literally, like the outline of it where it's in the makeup, but you could still see like all the hairs in it. So you could tell like where it's just skin and then mustache. So it's like one of those it's one of those like funny Hollywood sort of things. But which actually kind of reminds me of a story that happened on the set of the first Superman movie where Gene Hackman was asked to be Lex Luthor, and he's like, okay, but what about my mustache? And he's like, when he got on the set, he's like, okay, what are we gonna do about the mustache? And he's like, well, you're gonna have to shave it. So he's like, okay. Went to the makeup room, got it shaved, and he's like, all right, then you shave your mustache. And he's like, okay. And Richard Donner peeled it off. And it's funny to still hear about that, and it's funny to still to listen to that story over and over again about Cezar Romero like not wanting to remove his mustache. It's like kind of funny to think about, like, because back then, it's like less, like, oh, you don't want to remove your mustache, and then fine, you're out. Where it's like, okay, you're the best part, fine, keep the mustache, we don't care. I guess to talk about favorite scenes, I think the most infamous scene, or there's two infamous scenes that everyone remembers from the movie. It's the opening scene, where Batman and Robin go to save this yacht. It disappears. Batman goes into the water, and he comes back out with a fucking shark on his leg. And, the infamous bat shark repellent came from this movie. He obviously sprays on the shark. It falls and fucking explodes in the ocean. So it's like that should immediately tell you like what the tone of the series is. It's a comedy. And then the other, probably the most infamous scene from the entire film is Batman and Robin try to infiltrate the villain's base, but realize there's a bomb in there. So Batman keeps on running around this area trying to figure out where the fuck to throw this bomb at, like throw it away so that it doesn't hurt anyone. And every single thing keeps on popping up, like, oh, there's people in this boat, or there's these ducks in the pond, and the most famous line, he turns around and is like, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. And then it's like, he obviously gets, is able to dispose of the bomb, but it's still like the most infamous scene in the entire film. And those are probably honestly my two favorite scenes in the entire movie, because I nearly like bursted out laughing. I mean, yeah, I was chuckling because of how like silly it was, but I nearly burst out laughing on those moments. And yeah, I feel like that's the best way to look at this film. It's a comedy, because it's based off the show, which was a comedy. Yeah, there was moments where it got serious, but in all reality, the majority of the show, it was a comedy. It's, I feel like that's the best way to view it, because if you think like, oh, it's like campy 60s show about Batman, with that kind of attitude, you might not like this movie. But if you go into it saying like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a comedy, I'm here to have a good time, then you'll enjoy it. And that's honestly probably the best way I can describe this movie. It's fun, If you want to have a fun time with some laughs, this is a great Batman movie to watch. Where, going on to the later ones, like especially, going from, Batman the movie to Batman 89, it's such a drastic change where people even back then were like could you do Batman seriously? Like, in a dark way. And they successfully did it. But people still, still like the campiness of the 60 show. And I can see that now, because before then, I never watched the show. I never watched anything at the 60 show. But now seeing this, I can understand why people like it so much, because it's funny. It's fun. It's a comedy. It's fun. And I can totally see that now, And, obviously Warner Brothers sees it, because, they went on and made, comic books, continuing on with the show. 2 animated full-length feature films. Return of the Crusaders and Batman vs. Two-Face. These, I think, did well. And, unfortunately with the passing of Adam West in 2018, 2019, there will be, unfortunately, no more continuations, as I know, of, animated feature films now. Which is really a shame, because I do really like these. I do like the show now. Obviously, like I said, I don't have the show, in a box set on Blu-ray, which I think did come out 2016. But, I do plan on getting it at some point. But, I can see why people like it now, because it's fun. These movies are fun. The 60s movie is fun, and I can see that now. Is it my favorite Batman movie? No, it really isn't. But if I wanted to watch a fun Batman movie on a Sunday afternoon, then yes, I would absolutely put this on and watch it. It's fun. If I wanted to watch a really good Batman movie, I would turn to, Batman 89 or The Dark Knight, because those are good Batman movies. But to put one on for camp and comedy and just have a fun time, I would put this on. But it's not my favorite Batman movie. Far from it. In fact, I would go so far to say that this is probably my favorite Batman movie. I know I'm probably going to get hate for it, but that is true. But that doesn't mean this is bad. It's just not my Batman. I can see, and I like this Batman. It's not bad, but it's not my Batman. I prefer ones that go a little dark, but not too dark. So, yeah. So, I do like this movie. I really do, but it's not my Batman. So I'm gonna give this film a C+. It is a good Batman movie, but it's not the Batman movie that I wanted to see. And I knew that going in, because I knew that this wasn't going to be the dark Batman that I knew for the longest time. I knew that this was going to be camp. I knew it was going to be fun. So I knew that, and I did enjoy it. But it's not my Batman. I can pick out several flaws from it, but still enjoy it. But those flaws still kind of do hurt the movie. So, yeah, I still have to, face those criticisms towards itself, and it does sometimes affect the movie heavily. It does drag in the middle, really, and then it picks up at the end. But it is a good Batman movie to watch. It's just not my Batman. So yeah, I'll give this film a C+. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the start of my first Batman marathon. I'll be uploading consistently. Once again, starting next week, I will be doing Batman 89, which is considered to be one of the best Batman movies ever. And then the week after that, I'll be talking about Batman Returns, the slightly more darker sequel. And then the week after that, I'll be talking about Batman Forever, which brought back the more lighter tones. Or it made it more not more campy, but it made it more lighter for general audiences. And then obviously, we're ending it off with the one, the only, Batman and Robin. To end out the quadrilogy, you just have to. So, yeah. That's pretty much about it for this. Hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned again for next week for Batman 1989. And if you click down there at my username, or just click on the pop-up window somewhere on the screen. You can go check out my channel and make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out. Also, since I didn't really talk about this that much, we have continued on. We have resumed the Super Mario Galaxy 2 Let's Play, me and Oddboy on YouTube. We have continued. There were some technical issues and my allergies were killing me, but we are back. We are doing we're doing very good. I think at this point, we're about 13 episodes in now. So go and check that out. That will probably be somewhere on the screen here. Go and check out go and check out Franco's channel as well. He has a Discord server that I'm a part of, and we're usually on there pretty actively. Which did honestly give me the idea of possibly starting up my own Discord server. If you guys are down for that, leave a comment in the comment section below to join the Discord. I have set one up, but it's currently private between me and my good friend Dylan, who you have seen on some of my videos before. It's currently me and him on the server, but yeah, if you guys want a server, like a server that's related to my channel, public, then let me know in the comments down below, and I can see what I can try and do about that. But yeah, go and check out the latest video, which at this point should be the Ready Player One review. And go and check out Franco's channel in the Super Mario Galaxy 2 Let's Play. We're still keeping that up. So yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next week for the Batman 1989 review. And keep on checking out the Mario Galaxy Let's Play that me and Franco are doing. Franco will be uploading those daily. So yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoy, and stay tuned for next week for the Batman 1989 review. Live long and prosper. Out.